But I think it's so important for us to be able to be vulnerable, because you never know who needs to hear something, who could gain something from that. A lot of times our society has kind of made vulnerabilities looked at as weakness, where it's like, no, there's incredible strength in vulnerability, because you're able to say like, look, this is how I'm feeling, or this is what I went through. And if you're able to say that, you're basically saying, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me. People that aren't vulnerable, it's because they're afraid of what other people are going to think about them. So vulnerability is strength. I think that's why I've been able to help people like you and other people online, is just like, I'm being vulnerable. This is me, this is what I've struggled with, and this is what's helped me.
Guys, before we get started, just want to let you know, if you have any questions for us, please click the link below. You could ask us any questions via email, and we'll get back to you by the end of the episode.
All right, guys, we're here live from Billy's backyard. We have very special guest, the third time he's been with us, Dave Seidenberg, Inner Champ LLC. Super thrilled to have Dave with us once again. He's made monster impact on our lives and so many lives along the way, and he's just getting started. So Dave, man, thank you for making the trip down. You got so much exciting stuff that we're really looking forward to.
I'm excited to be here. Anytime I get to chop it up with you guys, spread some positivity, that's what I'm about. So I love it.
You bring only positive vibes. And I'll let everybody know, I had a private moment with the boys before, and I mentioned to Dave that, you know, it's been the most chaotic 8 months of my life. And a lot of the reason that I got through it is part of this podcast and things I learned along the way. But Dave's message and, you know, seeing how he's transformed and changed. You know, it's not like he's just telling us to do things and what might work for him or what he thinks might work. It's stuff that has worked for him. Mm-hmm. And the amount of value that that's brought to my life, I can't thank you enough, Dave, because I'm not certain where I'd be, or how I'd be handling it without some of your message.
Yeah, man. I think part of like, call it my gift, is being able to be vulnerable. You know, I think that's why I resonate with so many people. I'm not like, I didn't go to school for this stuff. I'm not just preaching. Like, I tell you, like, this is shit that I felt. You know, I've felt anxiety and stress and imposter syndrome and had low confidence, low self-worth, a bad anger issue. And this is what's worked for me. This is how I've solved it. And I think it can help you too. Try it. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I believe it will. But I think it's so important for us to be able to be vulnerable, because you never know who needs to hear something, who could gain something from that. And a lot of times our society has kind of made vulnerabilities looked at as weakness, where it's like, no, there's incredible strength in vulnerability, because you're able to say like, look, this is how I'm feeling, or this is what I went through. And if you're able to say that, you're basically saying, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me, you know? Yeah. Like, people that aren't vulnerable, it's because they're afraid of what other people are going to think about them. So vulnerability is strength, immense strength. So I think that's why I've been able to help people like you and other people online, is just like, I'm being vulnerable. Like, this is me, this is what I've struggled with, and this is what's helped me.
You know what I think makes you unique too? Your ability to adapt a little bit, or your open-mindedness. Like, you're not saying this is the recipe for success, this is how we're going to get through this. You're willing to chat. You're willing to hear, like, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not your way is the only way.
No.
You're open-minded, and that's probably why you've had so much success in retooling yourself. Because you're willing to listen.
Absolutely.
It was actually great when he first came walking into the backyard. Billy and I were both kind of just like venting. I was saying I'm feeling like anxious, overwhelmed, like torn from so many different directions, knowing that we're going to be here for hours, my phone, and then after the fact, I have this 5K tonight. My wife's not going to be around. I got the kids. I'm trying to wrap my head around everything. And I explained everything that I was feeling to Dave. He's like, oh, that's all good stuff, man. I'm like, oh, nice. It was great then.
It's all perspective, though, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And that little mindset shift, as soon as he walked in, it's like an air of calm. It was like because we're sitting here and
there was like this positive glow when he came walking back here. And we were like full on bitch fest right before he came in, going back and forth.
If anybody out there doesn't realize that Pete and I are still struggling all day, every day, please know you got it wrong. We're just equipping ourselves to cope, and we were having an event session. In comes calm, cool, and collected. Inner champ. And it's just like a wave of calm came over us.
Who was in like a relatively rattled state because he drove from Bergen County to Waves Recording Studios.
Yeah.
He texted us 10 minutes before he got here. I texted him your address, and he came over. He was like unfazed by that.
Just
you know?
unrattled.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with living with intention, which is what I talk a lot about. You know, having your routines in place to set you up for a good day. So when these unexpected things come at you, it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, going with the flow. So to get into that, I actually wanted to talk about this anyway, so it's a perfect little segue, living with intention. So I've talked about this on the first episode we were on about our subconscious. So we have 40,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day, 80% of those being negative because they're coming from our subconscious. Let's get into what a thought actually is. So when you have a thought, a thread forms between two nerve cells in your brain. You think that same thought again, and another thread forms. You think that same thought again, and another thread forms. You think that same thought 10,000 times, and it becomes wired to you. Now, here's the cool thing, the powerful thing. If as you're thinking these thoughts, they're paired with a strong emotion, it only takes about 24 thoughts as opposed to 10,000 to become
The emotion
wired to you.
almost magnifies.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Makes sense.
So if you are practicing a lot of gratitude, right? You're sitting down, you're writing out what you're grateful for, why you're grateful for it. That's building up a very strong emotion. Positive psychologists have done studies. The happiest people in the world are the ones that are the most grateful, intentionally grateful. So not just like listing out what you're grateful for, actually putting down like why you're grateful for it, what it's doing for you in your life. So now you're getting these elevated emotions, right? And now after you do a practice like that, you got these elevated strong emotions. Now you want to do your affirmations, your visualization, how you want to think, how you want to feel, how you want to act, what you want to accomplish. Because remember, the thought alone takes about 10,000 times. But if you're doing it with a paired emotion, it's only about 24 times.
Damn.
So you start practicing gratitude, you get the conjured up emotions, and then you pair it with, I am resilient, I'm a strong, capable guy. I can, whatever life throws at me, I could overcome easily. So like we said, like these unexpected things, like, yeah, I've wired my brain this way through conscious effort, sitting down and thinking these positive thoughts. Now, the dangerous part is it goes the opposite way as well.
That's what I was thinking.
But
it's almost like the emotion associated with the positivity and the gratitude, that could compound and magnify into really good stuff.
Yes.
But when you first said that, I was thinking those negative thoughts that keep coming back, that subconscious, when the emotion is involved, that gets powerful too.
Just as powerful.
Yeah.
So you're having negative thoughts, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm a piece of shit, I'm full of anger all the time. What do these types of thoughts cause? Like, you feel anxious and stressed out, right? And I'm sure you're having a lot more than 24 of those thoughts, right?
Especially when you're having that many thoughts per day, and the percentage being so negative.
You've been
for
having
how
them your
long?
whole life.
Right.
They're hardwired, right? So we know now that the subconscious is gonna default to the negative a lot of times. So you can't afford just to walk around on autopilot, just drifting through your day, la-di-da-di-da, and expect to have a good day, feel good, and accomplish great things, because we know the subconscious is gonna default to the negative. So of course, how can you? So you must, it's imperative that you take time to intentionally sit down, think, and feel positive. Doing it in the morning, doing it at nighttime. Now, you guys, are you familiar with the red car theory? I've talked about it
we talked
before.
about that.
I tell you about a red car.
Yeah. So the way the red car theory works, I typically ask someone, for the viewers that haven't seen, is on your way to work today, did you see any red cars? And usually they're like, I don't know, maybe, probably.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you probably did, but you weren't looking for them, right? But if I said, hey, I'll give you $1,000 for every red car you see on the way home, think you're going to notice some red cars? Yeah, not only going to notice them, you're going to be actively looking for them.
Yep.
So that's what journaling does. When you sit down you're priming your brain for what you want to see. When you're sitting down writing out what you're grateful for, your brain is going to go to work scanning your environment to show you more things to be grateful for. When you're sitting down writing out all the goals you want to accomplish as if you've already accomplished them, your brain is going to be going to work looking for them, right? It's just like the right cars are already out there. You're just not looking for them. Well, same with all the opportunities to become who you want to be, accomplish what you want to accomplish. It's already out there. You're just not looking for it. Why? Because that freaking subconscious defaults to the negative. So you got to sit down and intentionally think and feel positive. Visualize how you want to think, how you want to feel, what you want to act, and what you want to accomplish.
All right, I'm going to cut you off for a second.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to ask a question.
Sure.
So everybody doesn't, I don't want everybody to think like you're just going to sit here and tell yourself all this good stuff. You still got to put in the work. So how do you bridge that gap to get some...
Yeah.
Matt Trost is the greatest example.
I was thinking about him as he's talking.
Every time I see you,
Yeah.
I'm so proud of where Matt is, and every time I talk to Matt.
Yeah.
And I know you've had a huge influence on him.
Yeah.
But Matt's the guy that did everything you said and then put in the work.
Sure.
Yeah. Put in the time every time. You know, how do you get the person that wants to do all of that and sit there and say it to realize like you still have to accomplish this stuff? Like you journaled your goals.
Absolutely.
Now you have to do it.
Yeah. So it's a great question, and Matt's like an awesome example.
Poster boy for you.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. That comes down to discipline versus motivation, right? So like you could sit there, you could watch the videos, you could listen to the podcast, you get all jacked up.
Get motivated.
Yeah, motivation though, it's emotional. It's up and down, it comes and goes. Discipline is, hey, I know that this is going to be good for me. I'm going to do this regardless of how I feel.
Yeah.
Right? And a great way for me, so like a lot of times, you know, the people will come to me, they'll be like, I want to lose 30 pounds. I'm like, all right, well, how's that worked out for you in the past? Oh, I've lost it, then I put it back on, or I lose it, then I put it back on, and then some. I'm saying, okay, well, the problem right there is you're focused on the wrong thing. You have the wrong goal. The goal can't be to lose weight. Because what happens? You get to the number and then you go right back to putting it on. The goal has to be to feel good, right? So we know that eating healthy makes you feel good, you know, because of all the happiness chemicals that are actually produced in our gut, not our brain. So someone's overweight, I'm like, I know you don't feel good. I know you don't, because your 90% of your serotonin is produced in your gut. That's your mood regulating chemical. 50% of your dopamine, your motivation chemical, is produced in your gut. You're eating processed foods, you're eating sugar, you're drinking alcohol all the time. You don't got any of those happiness and motivation chemicals. They're
why
shot.
does food fill such a vacancy for people? Like for me,
Yeah.
I was previously very guilty of it. Stress eating to make myself feel better.
Yeah.
Now, last month my dad's passed. I catch myself every now and then. Yesterday we had an incident at work. I went right to food.
Yeah.
Because not to compare it to a drug, but it's almost
No,
like
it
something
is.
that you
It
could
is
look
drug.
forward
No,
to.
White Castle yesterday was 100%.
Yeah.
It's like a fucking drug.
Yeah,
that's
but-
like
exactly
12
it.
of those fuckers.
Yeah, but drugs, are bad for you. In the moment, they make you feel good.
know,
There's
right.
this
For me,
processed
though.
food
That's
and the
it.
sugar and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that eagerness to have it because you know that you're going to have this instant gratification
Yeah.
that you're going to, this tastes so good, I feel so good
exactly
right
what
now.
it is.
And then bang,
it's
it's
a
the
dopamine
after
hit.
effect.
It's a dopamine hit. It's the dopamine we just said. It's that feel-good, reward, motivation chemical. You get that by eating junk food or by eating processed food.
So
And it doesn't fill you up. We talked about this. It doesn't fill you up.
and
You have one
feel
cookie.
Like shit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I mean, I felt terrible last night. I'm
Now-
at football practice for the kids. I was tired. I was out of it. I just didn't feel good.
Yeah.
So when was White Castle? After practice?
No. White Castle was like 1 o'clock.
So-
2 o'clock.
Oh, in
something
the
like that.
afternoon.
Oh, yeah. I was
dog.
So
No
back
wonder
to
why
your
you were hurting that
question.
practice.
Oh, I was rough. Yeah.
Why do you do it? So the initial reason is because it's a dopamine hit. It feels good as soon as you do it. But it's now a habit,
Yeah.
right? And you have to think of your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors, your habits, all as like going down a smooth highway, right? You could fly down that highway. It's nice and smooth. It's easy to do it. Now, to create a new thought, a new behavior, a new habit is like hopping off that highway, going into the forest, and creating a fresh path.
Yeah.
At first, it's going to be tough work.
Yeah.
You got to move all that shit out of the way. But the more you walk down that same path, the smoother it gets.
Right.
Right? So right now, you're so used to flying down the highway of coping with the junk food, right? Or the processed food.
Yeah.
It's easy. So you got to now start creating that path in the forest of like, okay, well, sure, this healthy salad might not feel good right away, but it's doing more good for me in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's building sustainable dopamine. It's your health. It's great for your gut, right? We know that all those good chemicals are in your gut. Well, when you start feeding it good stuff, you're going to maximize those chemicals. You're going to feel awesome. And when you're feeling awesome, you're making better decisions. You're more motivated. You're going to be more goal-oriented.
Yeah.
So
I'm almost picturing, oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
no. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm almost picturing, like, as he's saying, like, getting off the highway of, like, all the negativity, just autopilot. Now you're in the woods, and I'm not even picturing, like, a chainsaw. Like, the hard work associated is, like, a small hatchet in your hand.
Yeah.
Just, like, taking one chip at a time. You have to, like, essentially create this path of things that maybe the salad doesn't feel good right now.
Right.
But like chopping the tree down with a small little hatchet, and then, you know, you got the leaf blower, you're freaking raking, you're out there sweating, knowing that everything that you're doing in the woods is going to get you to where you need to be. And like your hatchet can be your journal. The rake can be your diet.
Yep.
You know, the leaf blower can be consistently going to the gym. You know, the other tool that you need in this vision that I'm creating for myself, as you tell me, in the woods, you know, the next thing that you'll need, all right, eventually someone's going to have to come pave it. All right, so the paving is going to be quality sleep every night.
Yep.
You know, doing things for myself before nighttime to assure that when I wake up, I'm doing things for myself right away when I wake up to set the tone for the day. Like, it's not necessarily pretty and easy. Like, sitting on the couch watching Netflix instead of like preparing yourself for the night before is the easy thing to do. That's like the White Castle. But what is on Netflix that you're consuming right before you fell asleep that you're going to wake up with those thoughts? Last night I was watching this thing. It was about like this nun that got murdered. And like, my wife's okay watching stuff like that before bed. It like calms her down. For me, and the night before we watched this thing with like these chimpanzees that were in like this cage in Missouri. Yeah. And like, I'm sitting there with a knot in my stomach, like 2 nights in a row. And I'm like, oh my God, like she falls asleep, and then I'm like glued into what's going on. I'm like, I just at the priest, and like people get murdered, and like I can't handle that shit
that was
at
like
all.
Your White Castle for me.
It was. It really was. And like, I can't handle that stuff. And I know that I can't handle it. And usually I'll just do my own thing and let her kind of, she like falls asleep with that stuff, and it doesn't affect her.
And you told her your sleep
but
has
it
been
hits my
off.
stomach hard.
You said your sleep's been off a little while. So how much better?
That doesn't happen frequently though. This is just back-to-back nights.
Sure.
My sleep will be off.
Or just watching TV in general.
It's different because it's usually not. These last 2 nights, and then I'll kind of paint the picture on why my sleep has been off, but these last 2 nights, I feel it in my stomach watching these things. I swear, dude. I feel it. Like, I feel for the lady. I never met the lady.
Sure.
This happened 45 years ago.
Yeah.
Now I'm like so into it. Like, I'm super tired, yet so into it. Is it the priest? And like, I go to bed with like all these crazy thoughts. And like, I woke up this morning and like, I was very unsettled this morning. The night before, the same thing happened. But usually before bed, there's a lot of tossing and turning and worrying that goes on. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of this needs to happen down the road. Like, I have a hard time like taking deep breaths and just like, I don't know. You guys ever try to like force yourself to go to sleep? And like, the more you force it, the less the chances are going to bed. Like, that's kind of where I'm at.
I'll give you my opinion on that, because for me, I've actually had success improving my sleep score, and I've been really conscious of it the last month since my dad's passing, because I know my days, things haven't been easy since he passed, but I know my days are like a disaster, and that's cool. I manage it how I have to manage it. You see, I got a ton of missed calls, a ton of text messages. Life is still happening, but I know that I need to rest at night. I need to sleep, and I'm trying consciously to realize that there are things here beyond my control that we can deal with between business hours. It cannot affect my children. It
Yeah.
cannot affect the time I spend with my kids. So my sleep score, and previously, I think when you were on, I discussed it.
It was awful back
It was
then.
like 40,
Yeah.
and that was an improvement.
Yeah.
Last week I was away, and I really paid attention to it, and I've paid attention to it since I've been home. We're above 70.
Nice.
For me,
Nice.
this is a
Yeah.
huge win.
Yeah.
Now, during the day, the watch tells me, like, I spend the majority of my day high stress.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
is
I've
it
made
popping off
sure-
like that on you a lot? What is it,
Yeah.
Garmin?
Yeah.
And it's letting you know you're stressed
Yeah.
a decent amount?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Seidi, what does that come from, the awareness of the watch?
Yeah, how does that
Is it your
work?
heart rate? Like, how does your watch know? Because I was wearing one of them after I had the seizures, and I was explaining to Abby certain times of the day that I would feel super overwhelmed. And the watch reassured that for me.
Yeah.
Because I would say, hey, when I first get home and
Yeah.
my phone is still blowing up at work, and the kids are asking for me, and I'm on the phone, and I was telling everybody, that's when I was the most vulnerable. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know, and sure enough, I looked down. I'm
Yeah.
like, see, this is what I was trying
Well,
to
it's nice
explain
have
to
it
everybody.
confirmed for you.
Yeah.
Like,
But how does the watch know? Is my question.
Yeah.
I think
Heart?
I'm not sure. I think it's
Yeah.
heart rate,
Yeah,
but
heart rate.
don't
That makes
don't
sense.
quote me on
so
that.
I mean, there's a correlation. It'll tell me I'm stressed. It'll tell me a stress level. Then it'll, I can go in. I can see my heart rate.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it all corresponds.
Yeah.
Elevated heart rate, elevated
So
stress
when
levels.
so when you're feeling that, your heart rate's getting jacked up. You're going into fight or flight mode. It's like
Yeah, but I feel like for me, I have for years, especially recently, spent so much time
Yeah.
in that mode that
Sure.
it feels normal to me.
100%.
Well, that might be back to what he was
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
with the subconscious and the
that's
thoughts
where,
and.
well, that's where people like all of a sudden they have heart attacks at a young age. You're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
why? Because he's been fight or flight his whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And literally, like since you're a child,
Yeah.
if you grow up in that environment with a lot of yelling and stuff, and then that carries on with the rest of your life with the type of thoughts that you're having, which the type of emotions that you're having. You're constantly in fight or flight. When you're in fight or flight, when you're experiencing anxiousness, worriness, like the slightest bit, your brain can't tell the difference. It thinks
Damn.
that there's a saber-toothed tiger in the room that's about.
Right.
Can you imagine all day long walking around like a saber-toothed tiger is behind you? That's what you're doing when you're in fight or flight the whole time.
Unfortunately, I feel like there was a good portion of my life where every hour
Yeah.
I spent like that. Now, like I said, subconsciously or consciously, I've made the efforts, I'm not saying I've done a great job, to at night quell those concerns and
Yeah.
realize
That's good.
at 8 o'clock at night or 7 or 6:15, whatever it is, it's beyond my control right now.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's
But
just
you're
not
letting it go.
there for me to be
Yeah.
able to take care of. What I can take care of is finding my peace, which I've said a million times. The majority of my peace will come from my children.
Yeah.
Overwhelming? Absolutely at times. We talked about it before. My kids could be in my face, begging for whatever, talking nonstop, and that's overwhelming, but it's a good overwhelming for me.
Right.
I don't have, 25 employees arguing with each other about whatever, or they need this, or this didn't go right.
Yeah.
My kid wants a hug. I'm going to give him a hug.
Definitely.
They want
Sure.
they
My
wanna
daughter
play.
didn't
I'm
give me
gonna-
one this morning, Rowan, man.
Maybe that's why.
And
you're
I
feeling
like
a
felt
little
like I
stressed,
needed
bro.
it, and I was like, "Hey, Ro, give me a hug," and she like walked away. She went right to Mama. But you're right, Billy. When I do get those hugs,
It's
like I
different.
got them last night. When I come in the door, it's like it's magic, dude. And I like have that image in my mind. And like when I
Perfect
walk in the
example.
door, it's like
I'm sorry
freaking
to cut you off.
Superman comes walking in, and they run up to me and
You're all
give
that
me
matters
hugs.
to them, and it's so pure.
Yeah.
I shared a text with you. I sent you a screenshot. Max has an Apple Watch that we got him because he's always out on his bike, and I want to know where he is. And if I want to call him, I want to call him. We go out to dinner. My wife's birthday was August 16th. We were in Wildwood. We go out to dinner with my wonderful neighbors, Charlie and Melissa. They were in Wildwood as well. I get a text message, and it's Max. And I forget exactly what it says, but I instantly screenshotted it and sent it to Pete. And it was like, "Dad, I love you so much. Can you come home and cuddle?"
That's amazing.
Bro, but he knows.
Yeah.
I need that.
Yeah.
I could be at the highest peak of stress.
Yeah.
That message alone brought me down.
Yeah.
And the actual act of cuddling with my children.
Yeah.
Bro, all the stress.
But he wanted to cuddle with you. Man.
Well,
Yeah, exactly. He didn't text you because he knew you needed
but
it.
that's why it's so special to me, because they're conditioned to know that, I didn't get that growing up. And my father was such an amazing dad.
Yeah.
But, we weren't cuddling when
Different
I was,
world back
it was
then.
different.
Yeah.
My kid knows that it's okay to text me at 7 years old and say, Dad, I want to cuddle.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Honestly,
fantastic.
it's going to be weird,
Yeah.
but if he wants to cuddle with me at 18, I'm good with it. Because I'm still going to need it. That's going to be my baby boy. Those are going to be my baby girls my entire life.
Yeah, this video keeps popping up, and I'm sure I've talked about it in the past, but it says you're going to be the parent of an adult much longer than you'll be the parent of a child.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm like,
sure.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Because even back when I was in like high school and like college age, like those 8 years, for some reason, I just thought I was going to stay that age forever. And like right now as a parent with young kids, like I just feel like it's going to be like this forever. It's not, but.
So I'm a little like, I still think there's a balance with this though. So, and hear me out. So that's fantastic what you're doing. Like I love cuddling with my kids.
my
I
favorite.
love that they want to cuddle with me. That's absolutely amazing. Definitely keep up with that. But I don't want them to ever feel like my happiness or is relying on them.
Yeah.
You know, because that's how they could turn into a people pleaser.
No,
a lot
absolutely.
of times, especially the older generation parents, they've relied too much on their kids to bring their happiness.
Right.
And
You see that a lot.
They've developed.
agree with that.
I was like a big people pleaser. Like so many people are people pleasers because of that. So the goal is to be able to find peace within ourselves, right? Like not have, because one day, first of all, your kids are going to be up and gone. So what are you going to do then?
No, that happens a lot too, and I see that
Yeah.
a lot with the sports, and the parents aren't sure what to do when their kids off to college or when they graduate
And
college, they're
that
not
syndrome,
sure.
right?
it's
But it
huge.
also makes sense because most parents, when they become parents, whether it was a surprise or like they thought about it or whatever, they weren't necessarily soul searching, finding
Right.
their best version of
Yeah.
themselves
Yeah,
prior
oh,
to
yeah,
this kid.
yeah, yeah.
The kid almost kickstarts that
Yeah.
best version of themselves. That's what happened to me personally.
Yeah.
My son was 2 months old when I stopped drinking. I wasn't on this
Right.
self-improvement journey to be the best version of myself.
Right.
He
You're still on
created
a-
that.
But you're still on a self-improvement journey, and that's what.
Yeah. But
he
I'm
might have
saying, like-
kickstarted it, but you had to drive to try and perfect it in the end. Like,
Yeah, but I'm saying I could see why people fall into that realm
100%.
because these kids kickstart you to become the best.
Yeah.
They're your
Yeah.
pure joy for everything.
Yeah.
And you get so consumed with that you lose sight of like, hey, I'm my own individual, man. How can I fill my own tank? Like,
Right.
I can't have them filling my tank for my whole life because when they're 25 years old,
Right.
I also don't want to be like the grandparent that's just rolling off.
Yeah.
You know how that goes. It's like, oh, grandma just showed up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So it's like, no, you got to be able to kind of fill your own tank without the kids, and I think they get the most of you when it's not
But also,
completely
like,
reliant on them.
when you're-
You know what I mean?
when
150%.
when you're learning these tools to do that, you're then giving up to them from
Giving
a
it
very
to them.
young age, right?
Yeah.
That's what jacks me up the most. I'm like, this is so cool. Everything that I'm learning in my 30s, I'm able to give to my kids at a very young age. Like, can you imagine growing up with this stuff from
Yeah.
Right?
So
What-
for me, we had an experience on Sunday that hammers what you're saying home. So I was never taught to be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't in my father's vocabulary or my
Nobody's
mom's. For that
really-
matter.
yeah.
Different time.
It didn't really come up much in the 80s
especially
and the
in the
90s
wrestling
and
world.
early
Yeah.
2000s. That wasn't a word people were dropping.
So
Yeah.
Sunday, me, my mother, and the 3 kids go over to the cemetery. We go to see my dad. Now, my kids, I'm cool with you being emotional. You want to talk about it? We can talk about it. I'm here if you need. We walk away from my father's grave, and my son was a little emotional. He turns around and he goes back, and he's sitting there with tears in his eyes, and he has a conversation with my father, because he had seen me have a conversation with my dad while we're standing there. In the moment, and maybe one day he'll hate me for it if we ever discuss it, and I disclose it to him, I took a picture of him because I was so proud, not only of him, but of myself, that he was comfortable enough to cry in front of me, his grandmother, and his sisters, and know that he needed to take that moment alone
Yeah.
to talk to his grandfather. And,
Yeah.
you know, he understands that he can have a conversation with him anytime. He also understands it's okay to be emotional about it.
No doubt.
Just because you don't see your
Yeah.
father cry all the time, which I am working on, you could let your emotions out, bud. You don't have to bury them deep down inside and let them eat you alive.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I've been that guy. My emotions
Oh,
have
yeah.
eaten me the fuck alive. And I do not want that for any of my 3
Right.
children.
Yep.
Right. And
Yeah.
so that we got off track, but you originally asked, like, when my watch starts going off,
Yeah.
when I get home, you know, One thing, I just like a hug from my kids. That's awesome. You know, that brings you right down. But what's a way that we could bring ourselves right down by ourselves? What if you're experiencing that at work? Your kids aren't around.
Breathing. You got me to start meditating, which I'm not saying I meditate fully, but my version is I take some deep breaths in my nose, out my mouth. Now I'm cold plunging successfully, consistently for 3 minutes. The kids are doing it actually, which is nice. I think they're doing it just because they see dad seeing it.
Sure,
but that goes
that's
back
fine.
To being the example.
Model behavior.
Yeah. But I get to regulate my breathing and regulate my emotions when I'm in the cold plunge, and it's been very successful. That could also be a huge factor on why I'm sleeping so much better.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, one thing I like to do is a mindfulness technique, and you guys have, I'm sure you've seen it before. Me talk about it is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
So what is right now, when you start feeling yourself ramping up, angry, anxious, nervous, you're in the past, you're in the future, whatever that may be, and I've said this before, if you're depressed, you're in the past, you're thinking about stuff, you're beating yourself up, something you've said, something you've done, something you wish you'd done differently. If you're anxious or worried, you're in the future. So usually if you're feeling all these elevated, like crazy emotions, anger, you're not in the present moment. You're either caught up in the future or in the past. So you need to bring yourself back to the present moment. And this is my favorite technique to do that. It's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop whatever you're doing and name 5 things that you could see in your vicinity right now. So it's like 1, 2, the swing, 3, the camera, 4. Name 5 things that you could see. Name 4 things that you can touch in your vicinity right now. Name 3 things that you can hear. So now you got to get really dialed in, right? To hear 3 different things. 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. So this is incorporating all 5 of your senses. If you're using all 5 of your senses, where are you? You're right in the present moment. You got to be in the present moment to use all 5 of your senses. And then is when I'll do some deep breath work. So deep inhale, send that air all the way to my diaphragm, my stomach, fill it up like a balloon, and then deep exhale out my mouth, deflate the balloon. Because we talked about fight or flight. When you're getting all angry or you're getting anxious, your brain goes into fight or flight mode, right? It thinks there's that saber-toothed tiger in the room.
Yeah.
So that's your nervous system is ramping up. We need to activate our parasympathetic nervous system, which is called rest and digest. Let us know, okay, like we're safe, we're good, we're all right, we're relaxed, and that's done through deep breathing. So those 2 right there have been a game changer for me. Like especially with my anger was off the charts, 0 to 100.
I know that life.
I have to say, Dave, not to cut you off, but I called you the other day. That video you shared makes things very, very relatable because we see you now. You have this positive aura about you. You're telling everybody about all these things they can do for themselves. But to see the videos of you with drinks in your hand, a black eye, you were like way more over. Like you were like fatter
like,
version of yourself. Like you could see it in your face. Like and just to be able to see that real. It made it really relatable for somebody because I think it's easy to get caught up for somebody who might be on the other side of their Instagram page feeling a certain type of way about themselves and they see you now and they're like, oh, well, I got no relatability with Dave. They see that video where you just got into a bar fight. You know, you're making poor choices. You're freaking out on people. Now it's like, oh. Okay, so Dave wasn't always like this. He had to get in the woods and kind of make his own path like we were saying before.
It comes back to that vulnerability, man. I was like, when I first started posting on social media and everything, I was like, I need to let people know what I was like, what I was dealing with, or else they're gonna miss it. They're gonna be like, oh, I'll never be able to do that. I'll never be able to be there because it's so, like you said, unrelatable. But when we could look back and see like, oh shit, this guy was drinking every night, smoking weed, getting in fights, that I can relate to.
Exactly.
I'm over here with the munchies playing video games, like that I can relate to. So I show people like, I was that guy, but this is how I became this guy. And like,
this is how.
Then I give you the tools and stuff and let you know, like, I know it seems really daunting at first, but that's where you take bits and pieces of things and you start small and stay consistent. So when you get like about Matt before, he's consistent.
He's consistent.
You know,
consistency is key.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now that you're willing to talk about being vulnerable and your
Sure.
journey in the past, why don't we talk about your journey going forward? I mean,
Yeah.
you have exciting news. Let's tell everybody.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So God put it on my heart to move from New Jersey to Florida. So I'm heading to Florida next week. And, you know, I feel like every day we get these different ideas or gut intuitions, right? But, and what I look at those as, anytime we have an idea or an intuition or like a gut feeling, in my mind, that's a seed from God. He's planting something. He's trying to tell you something. But how often do you just suppress your ideas, right? You're like, oh, like, okay, yeah, that's crazy.
I'll do it in 5
yeah,
years.
yeah. I don't got time for that right now. Or like, or how would that even work? Right? That's crazy. Like, sure, it would be nice, but that's so all day long. Like, you get a lot of ideas. You'd be surprised how many ideas, and you just suppress them because for a few reasons. One, it's our brain's survival mechanism. So we talked about this, I think, last time. So our survival mechanism is inherited from our ancestors, right? They were trying to stay safe from saber-toothed tigers and other villagers stealing their stuff and whatnot. So they developed this survival mechanism, which we inherited. So anytime that we want to step outside of our comfort zone or try something different, our brain views that as danger, as another saber-toothed tiger. It's saying, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Excuse me, guys, I'm so sorry.
Exactly.
It's saying, stay right here. It's safer here in your comfort zone. Like, don't go out there. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is I like to tell my brain, hey,
did they make
I
it
know
over
you're
there?
trying to keep me safe right now. I know you're trying to
like
protect
that.
me. Thank you, but this is good for me. This is something that I need to do. The other reason why people don't want to step outside their comfort zone is because they're afraid of failure, or they're afraid of being judged by others for failing. So society has placed such a bad rap on failure. Like it's looked down upon, it's looked at as weakness, but failure's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Failure's a great thing. Failure is very necessary on your way to success.
Yeah.
And what's helped me with stepping outside my comfort zone, with reframing my mindset on failure, is this mantra that life is constantly happening for me and never to me.
Yep.
Everything that happens in my life is for me. It's for the greater good and never to me. So if and when I fail, or let me take a step back. Anytime that I want to pursue a goal, anytime that I want to step outside my comfort zone, I know that life is happening for me, right? So it's either going to go exactly how I plan it to, and I succeed, which is life most definitely happening for me, right? You accomplished the goal, you succeeded. Cool, life is happening for you. Or I fail. But when I fail, I learn from it. And since I learn from it, I'm getting better. So that's definitely life happening for me. Or I fail and I grow from that, which is definitely life happening for me. I'm getting better every time I learn, every time I grow.
Yep.
Or sometimes you just fail because something bigger and better is around the corner.
There you go.
You know, you got this eye on the prize. You think this is what it's supposed to be, and God's like, you know what? I hear you. I know that you think this is what you want, but something bigger and better is right over here. So he throws some obstacles in the way, some failure, so you're rerouted into another direction where something bigger and better is
gotta
around
earn
the
it.
corner.
Love it.
Yeah. You gotta
Or
go
you're just
through
heading
that
the
little-
wrong way. You're
No,
just
but you gotta go through
yeah.
that struggle a little bit for the failure, struggle of failure to enjoy and appreciate the success. So like,
Or
you-
sure, that absolutely,
you-
that's
yeah,
it.
And
You
it
had to
didn't
get there.
necessarily happen to you overnight either, because
for him.
I remember when you went on a trip, and I remember the stories and stuff you were putting up about how you felt in the sunlight and how you felt like you went on that trip, and that it wasn't like you just planted this seed in your mind and said, hey, I'm gonna go to Florida. It was like you listened to that thought, you actually went to these places, you felt exactly how you wanted to feel and are going to feel when you get there, and you put your house up for sale and you bounce.
So
that's getting past your fear, all that work that you've done for yourself. You were able to make this epic move for yourself because of that.
So intuition, it starts out very subtle. intuition is huge. It's massive, but it's very like subtle. Like you hear and feel it, right? But what I've found was the more I meditate and the more I pray and talk to God, the louder my intuition was. Like it was like clear cuts, like you got to get up and go. Like, like just go, just do it.
Just do
and
it.
then when I went to, like you said, when I went on that trip and I was in the Bahamas, I was like, no, I could have like this every day. Like, this is what I need. This is what
How did you get to the point though that you were confident enough or comfortable enough to leave your career, double down on Dave, and I'm not going to say that it's going to work out, but you're comfortable.
Yeah. So I'm going to explain why I left my career, and then I'll come back to that. So I've had a very successful career in corporate sales, and this last job in particular was like my dream job. Great work-life balance, all good supportive people in the company, great culture, making a lot of money. It was like everything I dreamed of. But after about a year or so, I was like, damn, I still feel like I got this void missing in me.
Yeah.
And it's because I realized, like, this was like my dream job, but it's not my passion. It's not like my purpose. And I was given some really good advice that your passion is for you. It's something that lights a fire under you, that whenever you're doing it, time just seems to fly by. You just love it. And for me, that's personal development. I never got good grades in school, right? Because I was never interested in anything I was learning. But personal development, like I'm reading about neuroscience and psychology and the subconscious mind, and I'm taking that stuff and I'm applying it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. I'm obsessed with it. I love personal development and the idea of becoming the best version of yourself and manifesting your dream life, a life of abundance. I'm all in. That's all I'm interested in.
Yeah,
like,
you can tell. It's amazing.
So it lights a fire under me, right? I could read books and podcasts and audible books and for hours. Like, I love it. So that's my passion. Your purpose is for others. What can you give to the world? How can you serve others? So for me, that's coaching. It's taking this blueprint that I've developed through trial and error and everything that I've learned, this blueprint to become the best version of yourself, to manifest your dream life, a life of abundance, and give it to others. And saying like, hey, this is what's helped me, this is what's worked for me. So what I do is I start telling people my story, right? And that's how they're able to resonate with me and relate to me. And they're like, okay, yeah, that's me. And I'm like, okay, now here's the blueprint. This is what worked for me. And then they start applying it, and I start seeing the transformation in them. Like that is the best feeling in the world. I could cry thinking about it.
Imagine.
Like I love Mondays, man. I love waking up on Monday morning. I'm like, who am I on the phone with today? I can't wait. Like let's make the world a better place. It fires me up. So to get back to it, how was I able to leave New Jersey, leave my corporate job, and my wife is leaving her job? It's faith, and God put these things on my heart. Like I said, the intuition's very, very strong. Like I know that I have to go to Florida. I know that I have to leave my job and go all in on coaching. It's like a gut feeling, and I said, like, those intuitions that come from God, they're seeds. So I believe He's telling me, like, there's an awesome life waiting for you in Florida. You just need to have faith, right? If life always worked out the way we thought it would, if we always were able to predict life, then faith wouldn't exist. So it's with that uncertainty, just having faith that it's all part of God's plan.
Now,
I love it, buddy.
Is that your plan, though, along with God's?
Yeah.
To go all in, you're devoting all of your time in Florida to coaching. It's you.
It's coaching, and he's putting some other things on my heart too.
Good.
Getting some different investing and stuff like that. But that's cool too.
But primarily your focus.
It's coaching, 100%. Yeah, I mean anything that you even learn with the other stuff, I'm going to bring that into coaching too.
Yeah, you're all encompassing. And I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but you're a very open book. So I'm sure if you're learning stuff on your journey, whatever investments you're going to make, I'm certain on a phone call or a video chat with somebody, you're going to talk about it.
Oh, exactly.
You provide immense value. I'm certain. Just seeing the growth that other people have had around you and the growth that you've had yourself.
Yeah.
Guys, if anybody has a question for Dave, I strongly urge you to reach out. personally has worked with some people really close to me. I have a wonderful young lady in my life who has been around my family, my kids, my wife, my mother for many years. She's benefited hugely from Dave, and they work together weekly, and she knows that she's working on herself, and through Dave, she's provided herself with the tools, and I'm so proud of her. I just wanted to give her a shout out. She knows who she is.
Amazing. Amazing. Dave, you got anything else to leave us
Yeah,
off
so
with?
just to wrap it up. So back like what I was saying, how it's so important to live with intention, right? Our subconscious is constantly going to default to the negative. So we have to take time out of our day to sit and think and feel positive. So that's why I came up with this personal development journal. So the first part of the book, the first section, it's all daily and nighttime prompts so you can live that life of intention. Set yourself up for how you want to think, how you want to feel, how you want to act, and what you want to accomplish. The second section of the book is like where the magic happens. Like that's where you start gaining immense self-awareness. You start getting rid of subconscious blockages that have been holding you back, holding you down, overcoming anxiety, insecurity, gaining that confidence. And these are all through prompts, questions. Like everybody's always like, oh, I need the answers. I'm searching for answers. And what I'm here to say is, no, you have the answers. You just need the questions.
Yep.
So that's what these questions are for, and it's going to be available on Amazon next week. It's called the Master Journal, and the reason I call it the Master Journal is because it's like 15 journals combined into one. Every type of journal that you could possibly think of in one journal.
Amazing.
One-stop shop. So
Amazing.
that's it, man. Yeah.
By the time this comes out, it'll be out, so we'll put the link in the bio.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Guys,
Perfect.
link in the bio for the
There you
Mastermind
go.
Journal, the Master
All right.
Journal.
Thank
Dave,
you, guys.
thank you so much for making the trip down, dude. Thank you, man. We're super proud of you.
Thank you.
What I love about social media and these cell phones is that we can still stay connected with you, even though
Yeah.
you're going to be down in Florida. So
No doubt.
hey, we wish you the best of
session
luck.
before you leave.
We got a week, maybe.
I'll make time.
All right, thanks again, Dave.
Thanks, All right, Dave.
guys.
Appreciate it, my
Thank you.
dude.
Guys, as
awesome.
always, like, click, share. We'd appreciate any support.
Yeah.
Give Dave some love.
Thank you.